Nemeth that says.
He says nothing.
I got nothing.
Because he's sensitive. It's the PD Skillz show. I'm here live, but not to you. Live to me. With Chris Holler, of course. And as promised this week, we're going to touch on name changes in professional wrestling. Mostly the shitty ones, but I mean, I guess we'll try and squeeze some good ones in there because they're few and far between. But before we get into that, is there literally anything going on in wrestling this week?
Nothing important I could think of. There's a super card of honor by ROH. I think that's the biggest event being held this week. So that's a return.
And I mean, ROH. I know, there's Raw, SmackDown, NXT, AEW,
the regular weekly shows. Nothing else important.
Yeah. I feel like if there was another big show this week, it'd probably like be built or something.
Yeah, we would know about it, right? And we'd be excited about it. But yeah, super card of honor. I think no, the card right now, not much has been announced, but it still is promising, especially with FTR and the Briscoes for the tag team titles. What I think though is that this is going to be where we will see the debut of Bret Hart as their manager. I think that this is a big event for ROH, and they want to do something special. Perfect time to pull the trigger if that's what they're doing with the Hitman. Bring him with FTR.
Now, Tony Khan buying ROH, obviously, and then just before the announcement, they had mentioned how like the Briscoes aren't getting signed, cancel culture out to get them, all that kind of stuff because of some remarks made back in the day. Apologies and all that aside, do you think that will affect them from staying in Tony Khan's ROH?
I think that he'll give them time to rehab their image in ROH, just like how he's been kind of slow with bringing up Jay Lethal in AEW. And Briscoes have gone out of their way to apologize for those remarks and seem genuinely remorseful and trying to.
You said Jay Lethal. Is there something I missed?
Jay Lethal, his allegations. In ROH.
Okay. Yes. Okay. I do remember that. I do remember that.
Yeah. So that kind of hurt his stock when he first came into AEW, but they're trying to rehab him too with that.
Somebody was saying, like, I think it was on Facebook, honestly, I was reading where someone made the comment where like there seems to be this like magic number where like people start getting eased back in.
Yeah. Time heals all wounds.
I guess G Raver was at he had some allegations recently, and I guess he was at a deathmatch show, not as part of the show. Like, just that one part, I guess he was helping bring weapons out, and they started booing the shit out of him. Like, he had his hood on and everything, wasn't trying to be part of the show, anything like that. And as soon as people knew it was him, he's like, right, he's out.
Yeah, that can happen. But yeah, the card itself looks good. I also think that we're going to see Wardlow show up. With him not being a part of AEW and having to sit home with MJF, it'd be really nice to see Wardlow show up there and establish.
Okay, that I like. That actually makes a lot of sense. That's a good way of taking an AEW guy and fitting him over to ROH.
Right, especially where it makes sense and not necessarily a demotion from the roster sense in terms of like losing your ranking, stuff like that, because he's not technically contracted to AEW.
Yeah.
So MJF can't tell him what to do there, and he can become his own boss and carry that momentum that he had coming into last week in AEW and bring that to ROH with a new product.
And do you think that guys like, do you think Jay Lethal, guys like that, like once they get that product off the ground, are going back to it?
I think that you'll see appearances, especially in the beginning, by a lot of former ROH guys.
Yeah.
And until they fill out or establish their new roster. So yeah, you'll definitely see guys like that there more often.
And when it comes to like that, like, it's obviously this is going to be better than when WWE gave us ECW, because when WWE gave us ECW, most of that talent was washed up, so to speak, or like off the island irrelevance to the mainstream fan.
Relevance was really a big part of the problem, where they dropped the ball so many times with not just some decent vets that still got picked up, like of course most notably DDP, but Even some of the younger guys like Sean O'Hare.
Oh, I was
and
saying
Chris.
ECW.
Oh, I thought you said WCW
But both
too.
both apply. Both apply.
yeah.
The relaunch of each. It's just
Right.
ECW they tried as a brand, where WCW.
They never wanted to put over any ECW guys. It's very interesting that no former ECW world champion held the WWE World Championship. It wasn't until RVD and the new one when somebody held it. But everyone else that was a former ECW champion never got that opportunity.
And then lost it anyways for smoking weeds and being caught with stuffs, I guess.
That'd be terrible. What a time now compared to then for RVD to now, where
there was like
podcasting.
an internet rumor out like a couple months ago where they were saying that like RVD partnered back up with WWE to do an anti like weed smoking campaign, and then people were like, "Oh yeah, for the right amount of dollars, of course he would." And I'm like, "No, this is completely fucking satire."
For anyone just listening to a video, that's what we are actively doing at the moment. Hence the irony of that. But
they know
they know that's the format. Yeah,
I only cough occasionally during the cast. I've either had COVID for the entire year that I've been doing this, and it's been a year now. Actually, last week I think was a year I've been doing the show.
I think that there's also some minor events this week, like some indie events.
Well, I mean, there's GCW, the collective.
coming.
Those are going to be some big shows. We got Effie's Gay Brunch, Joey Janela Spring Break, Planet Death.
This could be a plug, I guess. Actually, it can't, because I can't remember at the moment who's offering it. Probably Fight TV, but they're offering 13 shows throughout the week for one low price, which I also don't remember. So again, it's not an endorsement or anything, but it's just, well, it is what it is. It seemed like a cool package from what I saw for the week. If you want to subscribe, you can look it up. You know how to use the Googles.
Yeah, I'm just you know what it is? I think Vince McMahon, that guy, I think he's having some sort of show this weekend.
Oh yeah, there's NXT 2.0
stand and deliver
2.0
2 point can't get over
2 point can't get over no matter what. Actually, I think the biggest news, sorry, that just reminded me, I honestly don't have much to say about the takeover with Ziggler there as their champ. I don't really see the point as much when they're trying to promote some of their new talent, but it is what it is. And but speaking of his opponent,
I think Ziggler's there to give his opponent, which you're about to bring up, that win that Tommaso Ciampa couldn't give him. Tommaso Ciampa is a big fish in NXT.
Right.
Beating Tommaso Ciampa isn't what was needed to make a new star.
It'd be somebody on the main roster that came from the main roster and is now champion. Dolph Ziggler. That is the way to go. I get that. But yeah, Braun Breaker. So the big news is his father and his uncle are being inducted into the Hall of Fame. This is big news specifically because that means we get to see Scott Steiner speak again on WWE television, and that's a high point of the week for me.
I hope he talks about like the odds of them getting into the Hall of Fame, because the numbers don't lie, and Scott Steiner's math is bang on.
We will likely hear something like that. I really think so, and it'll be interesting to see who inducts them. It's hard to think of current people that would induct them unless if it is Braun Breaker and they give him the opportunity to do it. That'd be really good.
Yeah, but I mean, let's hold the Braun Breaker thought, because it's a good segue. Jokes aside, we've got WrestleMania this weekend.
Yeah, that's it. Whoa, WrestleMania.
Yeah, that's what we've got. So I mean, obviously we joke about it. Shitty build overall. Couple matches in there. Obviously Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, advertised to death. They're maybe hinting at Seth and Cody. Terrible build, like we've said for weeks. It's going to be on the next list. Yeah. Women's title matches at least promoted properly. That I'll give them. But,
both of them, yeah.
And Austin and Owens promoted properly, because it's not like, I'll actually give them that, because you don't want a physical confrontation in a feud leading up to an interview.
Yeah.
That's where that's the money. That is the money. So
they got the pop with the tease, with the music. That's all that they needed. to get the heel heat and
Yeah.
to get that pop from the Stone Cold music. Save it for Mania for
There you
the
go.
giant crowd in Dallas.
But there, so I mean, that's about as much as we can really talk about WrestleMania.
Like and again, not to be cynical, but there, as you mentioned, there are a couple of good things. Well, good things on the card, including Seth Rollins and well, possibly Seth Rollins and Cody, but I meant to say Edge and AJ Styles, and there are,
Notice
a
how I
handful
positioned
of
my head when I
matches.
picked that up.
Yeah,
I made sure we don't get any shitty freeze frames.
So I think that we'll enjoy the good parts, and
It'll be
the
good to
rest we'll
watch
just
as a
get there.
wrestling show, but I don't just get into WrestleMania
It
as
doesn't feel
it's
WrestleMania.
yeah, like I can watch, like people say it's the Super Bowl of wrestling. I kind of disagree to the point where I think that's the Royal Rumble. Royal Rumble is the event that it doesn't matter who you are, you can watch because it's 30 motherfuckers throwing each other over the top
Super
rope.
Bowl, yeah.
It's not a storyline ender, it's a storyline starter.
Yeah.
So that's perfect. But WrestleMania, like it's not like the Super Bowl where I can just watch the Super Bowl and enjoy it.
You do have to be invested in the story.
I want the builds.
In the players. Yeah, definitely.
Don't get me wrong, by using every second of footage they have, by the time we get to Mania at the end of this week, they're going to have a video package a la WrestleMania like 14 for every single like match, or 16 or whatever, for every single match at bing bang boom bing bing. It's going to be epic, but it's all realistically going to be a month worth of footage.
I saw a kayfabe news link while scrolling the interwebs, and it said WrestleMania to be 3 nights, and I did not see the kayfabe news part first before that, and my heart just kind of stopped for a second before I read the
source.
Yeah, the source.
Before you read the source, yeah,
but
they can't. It's got to go back to 1.
They should. They
and
should.
Not an 8-hour night.
No, we could do let's say 6 hours total with including pre-show matches. Give a 5-hour WrestleMania. Nice, still long, but not that long. And you don't have to dedicate 2 days for it, especially if you're traveling and not just buying tickets, but accommodations for an extra day to attend the events. It's got to be a lot. So I would like to see that change too.
But I mean, realistically, at least, okay, for 2 nights, that I'll at least say, if you're going for Sunday, you probably were already going Saturday night.
That's true, but there's always other things to do WrestleMania weekend too.
Yeah.
And that could take away, in which I think is a big part of the reason why they did it, to take away from other promotions in the area trying to run shows WrestleMania weekend.
Yeah.
Kind of tries to handicap them a little bit, but we'll see.
Yeah. Well, guys, that's WrestleMania. Let's rewind a bit over to Braun Breaker, as he's a great segue into our discussion about terrible gimmick names and name changes. Braun Breaker is one that, like, we didn't get a gimmick name for him yet. We didn't have one presented to us. We just knew there was a Steiner. We were dangled that Rex Steiner fucking carrot, and we got Braun Breaker.
Yeah, like I guess he did have another name on the indies, but to be honest, I can't think of it at the moment. But it's something that I get why sometimes it is necessary, and we already talked about and for this, not a ground rule, but kind of thing we're trying to stay with is gimmick changes, because obviously if you get a totally different gimmick, you're going to change your name. Like Luke Gallows, I was thinking about a lot, but Luke Gallows, he didn't just change his name, he really had different characters in those scenarios.
Luke Gallows is on the positive list.
Yeah, if we have to count that, but I think for other things,
because Festus to Luke Gallows, mucho better,
right? And again, totally different character, and
I don't know, actually I don't know what he was before Festus.
He was Luke Gallows. Doc, he was fake Kane. He was a few other,
I thought those were after
a whole bunch of
Festus,
things,
because I don't know.
I'm not sure on the timeline for Mr. Festus Gallows, which is his real name, for the record.
His real name.
Festus Gallows. Yeah, totally. Look it up again. Googles. So if you want to start, you go ahead with your first one.
Actually, like I said, I'm not like organized. Like best to worst. It just kind of as speaking points. But I kind of want to lead with an example of why a name is important. So, Nikki, let's take Nick Nemeth, Dolph Ziggler. I still like, I always knew that obviously it was the Spirit Squad guy, and a few of those guys were super fucking talented. They had a chance to repackage a guy who's an absolute fucking stud. And I believe to this day, that is what hinders him more than anything. Whether you talk about politics or anything, it's Dolph Ziggler.
I think that's the one thing that his brother has better than him. The Hollywood hunk, Ryan Nemeth.
Yeah, they actually
sounds a lot better as a wrestler.
I don't know if it's Nemeth or Nemeth, but either way.
But yeah, that is a good
and
example.
Nick Nemeth sounds cooler than Ryan Nemeth.
Yeah, even Nikki something
because it's got
else.
that Marvel, double N like name scheme.
Even if you have to change part of the name, if you could at least keep either the first or last as like kind of a bridge to the new era, like if they're being called up or something, or in his case leaving the Spirit Squad, he could have been, not Nikki Ziggler, but
and then they dyed his hair, put him with Vicky, dyed his hair brown, repackaged him, but still call him Dolph Ziggler.
And Dolph of all things. That is a good example. One that
I don't know anybody that likes Adolf. I mean Adolf.
Adolf.
It's not just Adolf.
My grandpa's middle name is Adolf, so and that's a shoot. But yeah, he was born before that one. That guy.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Is your middle name Gunther? I know it's not.
There's probably a Gunther Holler somewhere in the family tree. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, one that always stuck out to me as a kid and always bothered me was,
what, if you're listening, Pudge, you're Gunther Holler now.
Is Sid. Psycho Sid.
I had my finger on the trigger of that one, but you know what it is it was so minute and the character was so the same that I was able to just dismiss that one and get over it as like copyright.
But he still had different names even within the WWF. He was still Sid Justice before, and then it was Psycho Sid. All of a sudden, we went from being for justice to being a psychopath, apparently. And I didn't think that was needed, nor was Sid Justice a good name. So I guess that is another reason to change it. But yeah, it was an early one that
Sid Vicious is still the best.
It is. But
I feel like that's ripped off from something else.
It is from the 70s band.
That's what I thought.
From oh my gosh. See, again,
it's okay. It's a wrestling
format.
That's okay. It's a wrestling show, not a fucking music show. We don't have to know everything.
That is true.
Yeah.
But so and we're gonna see that a lot of these are for legal changes, and sometimes that happens. Even the switch from Cody Rhodes to Cody and back and forth and things like that, it's all because of legal stuff. So some of them are like that, but yeah, Sid was one of my favorites and one that stuck out.
All right. And then let's tackle one that's a very broad spectrum one. Every single wrestler to have their name shortened to one name.
A lot off my list, but yeah, especially when it's totally unnecessary.
We can go into some where it's a bigger deal, but like as a general statement, I don't understand the obsession with the name shortening. Like I was saying to somebody the other day, it's cool like if it's Edge or Undertaker or Diesel, fake names that are clearly fake names are okay when it's one name because it's a moniker.
Yes,
but like now coming to the ring, Josh.
Right.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Like there's some good ones like Batista, right? Like he was Deacon Batista.
Yeah.
Let's call him Batista.
Yeah, and there are some good ones.
And he not Dave Batista. Batista sounds more intimidating than Dave Batista, right?
If you got and
it's a positive one.
And it's if it's a cool last name, you can get away with it, or something unique, or like And if they didn't use his real last name like Bautista, it's Batista. Like it's
exactly.
Yeah, it's
actually
simplified. It's
in Filipino, it's Blutista. Yeah.
in North America, it's Bautista.
Right. Yeah. So that's why there's the mix up in the crowd chants all the time with him. It's all just language where you're from, you know.
Whether you're colorblind, you might call him something else, or tone deaf, or you might actually, you know, just not like bullshit wrestling. So whatever. You know.
Right. Yeah.
Well, now, what are some of the ones, like, as you said, that chops a lot of your list aside from Batista? Like, what are some that like are ones that were one name that you pissed you off?
I guess it was more of a joke that because there are so many. But yeah, anytime they take off a last name of somebody for no reason.
Matt Riddle is one that makes me
Buddy
mad.
and Riddle and
yeah, Buddy was stupid
yeah,
because it's just like, hey, buddy, hey, guy, like, hey, chief, like, whatever.
exactly.
But Matt Riddle, not that he was the most popular fighter on the planet prior, but like Matt Riddle is Matt Riddle. Like,
Right.
that's one where he's like, just Riddle. Is
Yeah.
this the mystery guy?
It's
Like,
not
who
the
the fuck is he?
Riddler, right?
Exactly. And that's what I thought too, like the Riddler. Like, as soon as they shortened his name, I was like, please don't make it a gimmick. Please don't make it a gimmick. Like, I hope he doesn't start asking stupid questions. Although if he kept his current look and tone, I wouldn't mind him asking stupid riddles that like don't make sense.
That would be awesome. Yeah. Just to confuse and
Or
bewilder
they're
his
super
opponent.
easy to be like, it's super easy to get and everybody always guesses it. Yeah, man. Like, how'd you know?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, I'll throw the list down. One made me real mad, and then slightly less mad, so they kind of got the wave from me. War Machine. So obviously they became War Raiders in NXT because they had heavy machinery, so they didn't want two machines.
Right.
Only to split up heavy machinery anyways, not do anything with them, which I thought War Machine should have took precedence over heavy machinery as a tag team. Only to become the Viking Experience and then fixed a week later to be Viking Raiders.
And then the confusion with their finisher too, of that being the Viking Experience
versus the Viking Express or whatever.
Exactly. And the announcers were getting confused, and that made the fans confused too.
And then their individual names changed. Like, they changed their tag name, their solo names, put them out at the same act, and like they were an act people were looking forward to. And obviously they had other better names already trademarked. So it was like, why do you do this to me?
Exactly, yeah. And when I was Shorty G, Chad Gable, so bad they went right back to Gable because Shorty G was just so bad.
No, and you know what? That's on my list. That is on my list because that one was terrible. The Shorty G thing.
It was.
They had an amazing, like, what he's doing now is perfect.
I'm so glad that he redeemed himself, and even with Otis, because
like obviously his background gives reason for it, but like he really does remind me of Kurt Angle right now, and for the right reasons, like that golden Kurt Angle like comedy phase. So I'm glad they changed him back because that was definitely on my list of what the fuck were you thinking,
right?
With Shorty G.
Exactly. And the one I have just out, it's not an, it does count as gimmick, but I just want to give it an honorable mention. The entirety of MIA, Missing in Action or Misfits in Action. If you count Corporal Cajun, Huge Erection, GI Bro, General AWOL, just terrible names for all those wrestlers, and really hurt pretty much all of them.
They changed AWOL's name because that was Randy Orton's gimmick.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's, I get it. You went AWOL.
Yeah, that's a thing. Well, if we're gonna go groups, I actually also have all of Retribution.
All Retribution, yes, yeah. You could just count off all those names all together completely as well.
Mia Yim's being the one that I think that was the biggest tragedy. Like, everybody else could have went with a name update going to the main roster,
right?
But like Mia Yim didn't need it.
Yeah, I love how in the new video game,
and then obviously Mercedes Martinez was like, "No, this isn't for me."
I just hope that in the new video game she got 2 paychecks for both having Mia Yim character, and
even 2K couldn't do her dirty like that.
Right.
They were like, no, bro, we can't just put her in here as
Is redemption?
yeah,
or-
redemption.
I-
I think, yeah. I'm like, they're like, we can't do her dirty like this. We're gonna put her in. Plus,
Yeah.
like if all the release
Terrible.
stars can be in, we could at least give her a good character layover.
exactly.
Let's go with one that wasn't a name change like that we saw during their run, but coming into Joe Hennig, Michael McGillicuddy.
He was about to be my next one.
Yeah.
Curtis Axel, Michael McGillicuddy, and you're Hennig. You are the son of Kurt Hennig.
And he was an amazing fucking wrestler.
Yes.
Maybe he didn't have the most personality, but that could have come with time in the right spot, in the right positions, and the right training. But
Right.
as far as in the ring went, like this is the guy that when The Rock made his comeback, that's who The Rock went to see, is my understanding. Like that's who they had him working out with to
Right,
get back in
yes.
ring condition.
Yes. that's true.
Because fucking Joe Hennig gets it fucking done in the ring.
Exactly. He's the son of perfect.
Yeah, and
It's amazing.
it was already bad. Like it was actually Michael McGillicuddy was the worst. I mean,
That
Curtis
is the
Ax-
worst name.
Curtis Axel was an improvement, but
I kept thinking he was related to Beulah McGillicuddy. I thought he was the son of Tommy Dreamer and Beulah instead.
oh my god, so bad. But yeah, that's definitely one where I'm like, it really gets me actually with second generation stars. Because I mean,
well, I'll give them that they did redeem it with Curtis Axel by combining
mhm.
Kurt and his dad Larry the Axe Hennig.
Yeah,
So
that's what I mean.
can
It wasn't
accept that one.
terrible.
It got better, but like Chad Gable when they learned their mistake.
But then they have
Michael
Paul Heyman give up
McGillicuddy.
on him right away.
Yeah, that didn't help his stock.
Beat
either.
Triple H for the Intercontinental Championship, was it? Was it Triple
I
H?
think it was. Yeah, I think it was the IC title. But yeah, that was an unfortunate one because as being both of us being Mr. Perfect fans, like huge, we were expecting, Curtis to
Actually,
be a
that was my
standout.
favorite fucking meme of the day. Chris Rock as the gum.
That's the gum.
Yeah.
Didn't
Will
know.
Smith is
Oh
Mr.
yeah, when
Perfect.
he's smacking the gum. Yes.
Yeah, that was my favorite of the
That's
day.
of course that's what we did all the time too. Being when we're younger, just you gotta do it, and then when you hit it really good, you just stare at it flying away, and you're all proud.
Yeah.
No one else gives.
Yeah,
a
you
crap,
walk
but-
around with an extra fucking pep in your step
Yeah,
the rest
you
of the day
just
when you
throw
just
your
hit a
towel
home
over
run,
after that.
hit a home run with that gum,
Yeah,
do the wrap around with the towel, you're fucking good to go.
faction.
Sandman. So I had to throw some WCW in this list. Sandman
Oh,
to Hack.
hardcore hack. What a hack.
Absolutely. And it actually got me thinking because obviously terrible fucking name change because that's a one word guy. That's like obviously not on the scale of the Undertaker changing his name, but like it's a one word gimmick name. It's embedded in you. He had to be Hack. And you
Yeah.
couldn't have Enter Sandman. And it started to make me realize without that name and without that song, would anybody like, would it have been like, obviously, maybe he could have been a successful wrestler, but nobody would have given him as much fucks as they did.
So argue that really hurt his return to ECW and WWE era because he had his WWE version of it and it just isn't the same. You need the full Metallica, the full Lars Ulrich going.
It's the words, right?
Yeah.
The words make a big difference in that case.
But you can't say it for legal reasons. Again, the legal part it ruins not just it ruins the theme song, which then ruins the name, which makes it even worse.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, that's definitely a big one. You could list a lot of the poor WCW names overall for sure.
Yeah.
So, thinking of Barry Darso. Again, gimmick changes, but all Barry Darso's names. Can we just throw out Ed Leslie just to cover everything with Ed Leslie? And
That's fair.
they just because sometimes he was still the same guy, pretty much Hulk Hogan's buddy. So he was still playing the same character, just in different outfits, basically.
Just in different outfits.
Yeah.
So obviously, you know about the elephant in the room right now. What I'm like obviously avoiding when you had to tell me who the disciple was.
Yeah. So
That was the
Disciple.
fucking. That was the fucking word.
I'll admit though that Disciple, his character as the Disciple was one of the best
Beefcake cover-ups.
changes, uh,
The
cover-ups
best
and-
paint jobs on Beefcake. Yeah. So for
on any
anybody that
wrestler.
hasn't caught this up to speed, it wasn't up until a couple years ago where he actually told me who the fuck the Disciple was. No fucking idea it was Beefcake.
Yeah, and that just adds to the whole list of tons
Such
of
a mark.
Leslie characters. I think there was
I felt like such a
18
mark.
in
Sorry,
total.
Sir William Regal.
But the Disciple and his uselessness for being in the One Warrior Nation when there was already one warrior. So what's the point of having another warrior there too?
And let's, you know what? That's he's someone I wanted to bring up because we talked about Sandman and these guys where their names are one word and iconic. Let's
Warrior
talk about
bought his name.
yes. Let's talk about the Warriors. Let's talk about the Chinas that actually got their names incorporated in order to keep those. And I think has Ryback done the same thing?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah, I think he's done.
I think he did trademark Skip Sheffield. Yep.
Fuck. There, that's one that was. Actually, you know what? I didn't hate Skip Sheffield.
I think for a guy that looked like Ryback and that kind of had promise back then, that was terrible. Ryback wasn't a bad name. I still don't understand the name, but it sounds cool as a one name guy and everything. And he was his own worst enemy, and
and
he
he
just
still
refused
is.
to get better. And
he still is his own
he
worst
could've.
enemy because he keeps asking where people want to see him, and the answer is fucking retirement.
yeah,
That's embarrassing. Like I don't know why he
Every
keeps doing
time.
that to himself.
just it gets him attention and it gets him memed. So he likes that. He likes to be memed.
It gets him memed.
Yeah, because then people post it.
Here's one I had jotted down. One that irritated the shit out of me. Taz to Taz.
To Taz, or Rhino to Rhino.
Yes, Taz to Taz.
Again,
and Rhino to
legal
Rhino.
reasons.
Yeah,
And
it's
Taz
just-
is Warner Brothers, so that's even worse. But
it's just the spelling.
yeah, having to change a wrestler's name for spelling for legal reasons is lame for sure. And just adding another Z or Z for you Americans to the Taz name was kind of ridiculous. And same thing with Rhino, having to be with a
Y
Y.
instead of an I. That shit killed me.
Yeah,
And it just bugged the shit out of me.
yeah. Especially because you gotta admit, talking
world
about
is- the world is
Alliance
petty.
people, ECW guys that they did, try to put over. Rhino was one of them that they did put over because thanks to Edge and Christian and his friendship with them, that
Christian Cage.
it really highlighted them.
It's not
Christian
Christian right
Cage,
now.
going from Christian to Christian Cage,
Back to
and-
Christian and back
yeah.
to Christian Cage.
and at least that's a name that he used before, so he could use it, so that's good. But he can't just be called Christian; it has to be Christian Cage. So it's a mess. There was a good bit on Being the Elite this week with him popping in a cameo. We got to see the reunion of SCU on Being the Elite, and also the at the end, the Hardys asking the Young Bucks for a dream match, which leads me to another name one. And they agreed to this dream match, and then Christian popped in the door and said, "Hey, should I get my partner?" So we'll see what that leads to in the future. But Edge's contract runs up in January, so you never know. You never
Really?
know. Yeah.
You think they would plant early seeds for that and just replace the Dudleys with a super younger
Super
team?
kick party.
Yeah, with the super kick party.
Yeah. So the Bucks, Generation Me.
Yep,
Max
there's-
Buck.
It was
And
fucking terrible.
what was the other Buck?
Generation Me was terrible.
Or what was the other one?
What was it? Which one did you
Was
say?
it Max Buck?
Yes,
And-
okay, yeah.
And then the other one.
Max Buck and the other Buck.
Generation Me.
I don't bucking know.
Yeah, yeah.
Who gives a buck?
You can count the tag team name in there, but also just their names themselves.
Yeah.
That just didn't work at all.
No, it was fucking terrible. And I wasn't already like, I like them now it took them a while to grow on me,
Right.
but Generation Me didn't do any
It didn't help 'em.
favors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It was like this weird crossover between DX and the Hardy Boys, and I didn't know how I felt about
Right.
it. I felt like somebody like did a crossover on their action figures, and it was terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a low point, and they like to poke fun at it now too and everything.
Yeah,
But yeah.
it's them in an alternate universe. So
Exactly.
I mean, those name changes sometimes, like we said, they're fucking brutal.
Right.
Nothing like getting your name butchered.
Right.
Butchered.
Butchered.
Butch.
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 Yeah, Butch is fucking terrible. In
Pete
case you haven't gotten the
Butch.
point, Pete Butch, Peter Butch.
Peter Butch.
That sounds almost terrible.
It does. Peter Butch Rabbit.
And again, it's a one name, but like there are people named Butch. So I mean,
There are people named Butch, yes.
so again, it's down to a one real name thing, and it's a first name. So it's just like again, it's like a Now Coming to the Ring, Chris.
It is. And again, because of how well known he is as Pete Dunne, in how long he's been around in the WWE sphere, it's surprising. I think I'm more surprised about them changing his name than most that come to the main roster, because I thought that like just like Ciampa, that
Yeah,
he would
he
retain
had
his name.
Yeah, he had history, like
Yeah.
United Kingdom champion, like
Even for
NXT
that,
Tag
even
Team
for
champion.
advertising in the UK. Now it's come see Butch at Wrigley Stadium if they ever do that again.
Yeah,
And that doesn't
it's
sound
not a
right.
homecoming for Pete Dunne.
Yeah, exactly.
We want a Pete Dunne homecoming in the United Kingdom, and we're not going to get that because we're going to get Butch.
Right.
Strapping young Butch.
One name that did work out for the better, though, related to that, is Finn Balor from Prince Devitt. And I know a lot of people like the Prince Devitt name and everything.
I didn't. I love Finn Balor.
Or Pac even.
I love the Finn Balor name, Pac. I thought,
but
I'm not big on the Pac name because it just doesn't resonate. It's just, I liked Adrian Neville. And further, I like Neville.
But yeah,
because that's a last name. I don't mind when you shorten it to a last name, even though Matt Riddle's on my list of anger. But that's just because he's
different.
Yeah,
even because he had like an MMA career that people knew him as.
Exactly. That's why that
and
one, like I said,
especially when it's their shoot name. But yeah, for some reason it seems like with English guys they like to do that. And then we even had Drew McIntyre and
did McIntyre go back down to Did he go down to McIntyre at one point? No.
Drew McIntyre.
Drew Galloway?
Drew Galloway, yes,
okay,
thank you. Drew Galloway.
But
also.
because he went back to his Fed name, so that's fine.
But I'm just pointing all these guys from UK that have had to change their names up like that. That it's
Sheamus,
kind of interesting.
Because it was Sheamus O'Malley, or
I don't know actually.
Or
I did not know Sheamus before he came up, and
similar.
Sheamus worked. Now that's one that works as a single name.
That's an accidental Irishism, but whatever. He was shortened to Sheamus, but like it works because it's a good solid one.
Yeah, and that was a good one. So I think that kind of works. But yeah, there's a lot of people from the UK or the UK area that have had to go through those changes coming to America, it seems.
And it's because when he started to, he had the warrior gimmick too. So like a warrior by one name, I can accept.
Right, exactly.
Not saying I want fucking Butch to show up with fucking small trunks and face paint and shit.
Yeah. Another one that worked, Dwayne Johnson, but from Rocky Maivia to The Rock.
Absolutely.
That was a huge one that was super successful, of course, beyond our unimaginable belief at the time. But that one is one that, again, just like with Curtis Axel, a mixture. I think the worst problem is when you have three generations, when you try to mix not just your one parent's name, but then also your grandparents' name too.
Like
and that's how you get Rocky Maivia too, right? So I think that is popular I think junior works a lot on guys if they're just junior, or if they drop the junior, like Rey Mysterio Jr. is now just Rey Mysterio, and we only acknowledge Rey Mysterio Senior as Rey Mysterio Senior.
Yeah.
So, but just dropping the junior for Rey Mysterio, he's earned that Rey Mysterio name.
Yeah, and that
and
makes
it's,
sense.
It's acceptable for something like that. Like it's not a huge change, and we know him as Rey Mysterio. And
I will accept Prince Mysterio as a name change for Dominic.
Prince Mysterio, yeah, that would be
because
something.
obviously Ray direct translation is king, so then Dominic would be Prince Mysterio.
That would be good.
I don't want necessarily. I mean, actually, I don't know what Spanish princess in Spanish. Actually, I do. It's Príncipe.
Now you're getting into a whole other
But
thing.
like Príncipe Mysterio doesn't have a ring to it. Prince Mysterio does. That'd be sweet.
Right. Now you're getting into a whole another. I don't think we have the time for it, but names that should change.
Names that should change.
Yeah, that's a good example of one. Where he could use a whole gimmick refresh, but even just the name would help him a lot.
Yeah, I think so. Like his own moniker.
Yeah,
but I think that should come with a mask.
Yeah,
because he's got a young face, and I feel like it would help him.
Even if he wore a mask to the ring or something.
No, I want to see full commitment. I think that'd be good. I feel like as far as that goes. So let's see. Have we run through everything that I've got? We have. I think those are all the name changes that have super bugged me. I mean, obviously, there's been like cool ones like Razor Ramon to go to back to Scott Hall, and Kevin Nash from Diesel, ones that have benefited because it kind of seemed like a shoot thing.
But you could go back even more if you want for them with Diamond Stud. And
they've never had bad name changes.
Well, it's always improved, like going from Diamond Stud to
so I mean never bad
to Razor Ramon and so on.
Although Diesel and Razor Ramon was sweet, it was kind of when they went to shoot style names, it was just a transition. Like they were both equally cool,
right?
It just WCW was aiming for more real life, whereas they were characters in WWE,
right? And then there's even one, I guess the one I'll leave off for WrestleMania with, and it was more, it's been his name, I think, pretty much his entire career. I think he may have started off with his real name, but his real name was a name of a popular professional wrestler at the time. So he had to change his name. And that was Steve Williams, also known to some as Steve Austin.
Yeah.
Stone Cold. So Dr. Death Steve Williams was already Steve Williams when he got hired with WCW and started working around there. And so Austin started being called Steve Austin instead at the time. And,
turned out to be a huge positive. And like I said, there are some positives. Like, I mean, there's obviously, I made a list of ones that like really pissed me off or grind my gears, so to speak. But I mean, obviously there's good ones because everybody had that like gimmick. That breaking gimmick. Mean Mark became the Undertaker. Glenn Jacobs or Isaac Yankum, becomes Kane. Like there are all those good ones. Hunter Hearst Helmsley reforms to Triple H. Like lots of good ones that are epic.
Hunter Hearst Helmsley is a good one where it's still his name. We're just calling him by his initials.
Yeah, and
like that's become his name.
Like you said, the Maya Vio one to The Rock. Like there's obviously some of the biggest names in pro wrestling had terrible names prior.
Terrible.
But
what was his name before again? He was Hulk Hogan. He was Terry Boulder. That's what it was. Terry Boulder. Went from Terry Boulder to
Hulk Hogan.
The Immortal. Yeah.
Well, so that's but we could, like I said, we could go on about those, but that's the shit list.
Yeah, just want to lead off with Austin for Mania, and I think what most people are excited for the weekend, seeing his return in Dallas.
Yeah. And that's a wrap. It's WrestleMania week, guys. Watch as much wrestling as you can, whether it's independent wrestling, the GCW collective, your regular television wrestling, if you're watching AEW, WWE, or you're watching Impact, ROH coming, the ROH comeback,
Japan Strong,
like all kinds of good wrestling. If there's wrestling companies in your local area, they're probably holding a wrestling show. Hit one of those up.
Support your indies.
Yeah. Next weekend, big weekend. Well, this weekend. So yeah, that's it for this week. I'm P Skillz, and this is Chris Holler. Hit up my social medias at PD Skillz Show. Buy a shirt, hook a motherfucker up with some support. And yeah, next week, WrestleMania recap. We're out.